Hi, my name is James Ponti, and I am the author of the all-new mystery series, The Sherlock Society. Very excited about the story. It's set in Florida, my home state, so I have my Miami jersey on. And it's about Sherlock, so I thought I'd read to you, but first I've got to be ready and get my Sherlock hat on, and away we go. This is the first chapter. Maybe if our last name was Baker, we would have sold cupcakes. Or if it was Walker, we might have taken care of people's dogs while they're on vacation. But it's Sherlock. So starting a detective agency just seemed like the thing to do, especially compared to more traditional middle school money-making schemes like babysitting, boring, lawn mowing, sweaty, or cleaning the attic, boring and sweaty. My name is Alex Sherlock. I'm 12 years old and my sister Zoe's 13. We'd had enough of bratty kids in weed-filled yards and wanted something new and exciting for summer. Tempted by the lure of adventure, we jumped at the chance to become detectives. Then, 3 weeks later, we had to jump into Biscayne Bay. That's because we were passengers on a yacht that exploded. Okay, maybe we were more like stowaways, but let's not focus on that part yet. Just know that while Sweet Caroline was sinking to the ocean floor, we were clinging to floating debris and trying to figure out how to make it back to land. In every way imaginable, we were in over our heads. As we treaded water with the acrid stench of burning fiberglass in the air, boring and sweaty suddenly didn't sound so bad. We should have mowed lawns, I said, looking up at the plume of black smoke spiraling into the sky. You think? Zoe responded, giving me the stink eye as she tried to wrap her arms around a cooler that was bobbing up and down the water. What gave it away, the explosion or the sinking ship? Technically, it's a boat, not a ship, I replied, instantly regretting my words. Are you seriously correcting my vocabulary out here in the ocean? She exclaimed. Who are you trying to impress? Even in this stressful situation, I couldn't help myself. Whom? Her face scrunched up like she was trying to stop her head from exploding, and I thought she might drown me right then and there. Do you know what your problem is? You don't know when to... Plonk. She was interrupted by a bright orange life vest that bopped her on the head. Another one landed right in front of me, splashing my face. Stop arguing and put these on, our grandfather said as he dog-paddled toward us. You're wasting energy, and we've got real problems to solve. Problems plural, Zoe asked. You mean there's something more to worry about than making it to shore without becoming shark bait? Sharks aren't a concern. If you run into one, all you've got to do is punch it in the snout and gouge out its eyes, he said as if that was no big deal. The apex predator that worries me here is your mother. She's going to blame me for this. He had a point, even though it had been our idea to sneak onto the yacht. As the responsible adult in the room where it was planned, he probably should have at least tried to talk us out of it. According to the business card Zoe insisted we had professionally printed, Grandpa was the director of transportation and logistics for the Sherlock Society. This was a fancy way of saying he drove us around in an old-school Cadillac, but Grandpa being Grandpa, he did more than just drive. He was great at problem-solving in the field. He figured out where to hide on the yacht, and often often noticed things Zoe and I overlooked, like, hello, life preservers. What about you, I asked, while trying to wriggle into mine. There's only 2 vests, but 3 of us. Why don't Zoe and I share so you can have the other? I don't need a life preserver, he scoffed, his pride wounded. I'm like a fish. I told you that I swam the 400 individual medley in college. They called me the Barracuda. We know, I said, because he mentioned it at least once a month. But it's a lot farther than 400 yards to the shore. Besides, Zoe added, that was like 9 presidents ago. He shot her an indignant look and was no doubt about to make his oft-repeated claim of being the healthiest 73-year-old in Coconut Grove. We heard the shrill sound of an approaching siren. And the hits just keep on coming, Grandpa moaned. Now we've got cops. Zoe and I turned to see a Marine Patrol boat racing to the rescue. We were elated, but Grandpa seemed dismayed. You 2 get your vests buckled and wave them over, he said, his voice quickening. They'll pluck you out of the water and get you back to safety. Don't you mean pluck us out and get us back? I asked, confused. You're minors. They'll go easy on you, he replied, but I've got something of a checkered history with Miami Police Department. I'm going to swim for it. Swim for it, Zoe asked, incredulous. You think you can outrace a Marine Patrol boat? 4 minutes, 37.2 seconds, Grandpa replied, proudly reciting his best time from college. This stretch of water is the old boat race course. I'm going to speed through here just like those power boats did when I was a kid. Before we could try to reason with him, he began swimming toward a hulking concrete grandstand known as the Miami Marine Stadium. Long abandoned and covered with graffiti, it was where fans had once come out to watch boat races. Powerboat? Zoe called out to him. More like pedal boat. He gurgled back an unintelligible retort and kept on swimming. As the police neared the wreckage, we got their attention by waving our arms and blowing on whistles attached to the life vest. There were 2 officers on board, Sanchez and Del Castillo. I know their names because our mother made us send each of them thank you notes for saving our lives, as well as handwritten 300-word essays titled, I Promise Not to Be Stupid Around the Water Again. Sanchez was driving. As they got close, she put the engine on idle, and Del Castillo leaned over the side and reached out to us with a long pole called a boat hook. Are either of you hurt? He asked. No, answered Zoe as we grabbed it and he pulled us in. We're fine. No injuries. Sanchez came over to help. What about the others? Is anyone still on board? They escaped on jet skis right before the explosion, I answered. It's just us. The officer shared a confused look and Del Castillo asked, why'd they leave you? They may not have realized we were on board, I admitted sheepishly, not wanting to delve too deeply into the Pandora's box of our stowaway status. It's complicated. What about him? Sanchez motioned toward Grandpa, who was moving through the water at a very un-Barracuda-like speed. Is he complicated too? More than you could ever know, replied Zoe. Once we were on board, they ran us through a quick battery of tests to make sure we weren't in shock and didn't have concussions. Then they began what was undoubtedly the slowest chase in the history of the Miami Police Department. We putted alongside Grandpa until he finally gave up his swim for freedom and raised his hands in surrender. He'd only made it about 150 yards, not even half the distance he swam in college, and nowhere close to reaching the stadium. After receiving some emergency oxygen and chugging a bottle of Gatorade, he managed to catch his breath long enough to proclaim, we answer no questions without our attorney present. He started to say something else, but instead decided to lay down on the padded bench and stay quiet. So that's the opening of the Sherlock Society. Tremendous fun for me to write. I hope it's fun for you to read. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Happy reading and have a wonderful day. Remember, it is our business to know what others do not, because we are the Sherlock Society.